Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to a Skyrim Creation Kit tutorial. And today we're going to be looking at making a very simple quest using the Skyrim Creation Kit. So this is basically aimed at people who have never used the kit before. So if you have any experience with it, this video might be kind of boring for you. But having said that, the first thing we have to do is find the Skyrim Creation Kit. So that's on the Steam store. I think if you just go to the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, whichever version you're using, to their page, there should be a button somewhere that will allow you to download the creation kit, and it's free. So download it like you would any game, and then once it's ready, you just click launch, and it's going to take a second for it to load up. Here we are. Okay, so this is the creation kit. The first thing you'll notice, it might look a little different. Maybe these windows are different sizes. You can resize them if you like. I just have the render window nice and big because it makes it easy to see things. So I'm going to put it back to where it was basically. That's fine. But what you will have is 3 different windows. So one is the object window, which should be on the left. You have the render window, and you have the cell view, which is sometimes hiding behind the render window. So these 3 windows are going to be, along with your toolbar up at the top here, are going to be sort of like your tools for making mods. Now, if you look on the left here, you'll see you have these lists of things here. So we have items, magic, actors, character, audio. And as you imagine, if you expand these lists and you go further into them, you can see these categories like items are broken down even further. So you have armor, books, ingredients, keys, weapons. Now, at the moment, there's nothing actually there. So if you click on them, like there's 2, I don't know what these things are actually, but for most of these categories, like in armor, there's nothing here. And the reason is because we haven't told the creation kit which files we want to be working with yet. And the way that you do that is by finding this file icon here along your toolbar, click it, and you'll see it'll bring up this list here. So for what's important today, we're going to be clicking on Skyrim, and I think you have to, you got to double click it. So we're going to click, double click Skyrim.esm. And we're going to double click update.esm. This is basically just telling the creation kit we want to be loading these files so that we can work with them. We can create changes to them if we would like, although more often than not we're not actually changing the base files in the game. We're either adding to them or creating alternate versions of them, if you will. We want to leave the base assets as they are, because as you can imagine, if you edit them, then it can create certain conflicts, and then your game will stop working. So make sure those 2 are double clicked, then click OK. And this is where it takes a couple of minutes. It's going to go through this loading process, and as it does this, it's going to present you with a series of warnings. These warnings are, you don't have to worry about them. It's very normal. All you have to do is click yes to all as soon as they come up. So while it's loading, I'll just describe basically what the quest is going to be about. We're going to create a character, and the quest is essentially going to be very straightforward, where the player is going to meet the character. The character is going to give them a task to go and pick something up or to find something and bring it back to them. And obviously the player will get a nice reward at the end. That's it. It's going to be very, very straightforward. And the intention of this basically is just to get people who've never seen the creation kit before, to get you used to how these systems work, how the quest system works, how to create items, how to create actors, how to write a little bit of dialogue, and a tiny bit of scripting just to kind of tie it all together so that, one event sort of leads to a next event, leads to the next thing, and then eventually you complete the quest. So we should be getting a warning soon, I think. Okay, so the first warning here, don't worry about it, just click yes to all. Okay, when it shows you this loading thing that says validating forms, it means it's almost unloading. So you're almost there. There we are. Okay. So a couple things before we actually get started. We're going to look at the object window again just before we move forward. Go back into items, and then you can look at something. Let's go back into weapons again. So now that the files are loaded, you can see that all of the weapons that are in the base game are now showing here. Okay, and you can kind of, they're all alphabetical. You can just kind of scroll through it and look at all this stuff. So if you wanted to use a specific weapon in a quest, or if you wanted to add a weapon into the game, you would find it here. Same thing with armor. All of the armors in the game are here. And same thing with stuff that you can't really, like not items that you couldn't pick up with your character. So as an example, climates or lighting templates. So all of this information is just sort of categorized here. And you learn how to kind of apply it to the mods that you're making over time. But for now, we're going to start pretty simple. So this is the object window. The render window is kind of tied in a way to this cell view. So in order for something to show up in this big render window, we have to click on something here in the cell view. We have to tell it which cell we want it to load up. So we're going to pick a familiar spot. We're going to go to Riverwood, the Sleeping Giant Inn. Again, you'll see a warning. That's fine. Just click yes to all, yes to all, yes to all. Okay. So now we're in the Sleeping Giant Inn. You can see actually what it might look like when you load in for the first time is you've got all these markers, these different colorful things lying around. They're all used for different things. Right now we're not going to worry about that, but to make your life a little bit easier, you're going to hit M. If you see all those markers, just hit M. It will hide them so that you don't have to worry about clicking on them by accident. They're not deleted, so don't worry if you think you've messed it up or something. They're not gone. They're just hidden from view. Okay, so this is the Sleeping Giant Inn. Looks pretty familiar, and this is kind of where our quest is going to be taking place. The last thing we'll talk about before we actually get started making the quest is just how to move around the render window. So, oh, and by the way, this is a cell. So whenever you go inside a building or you go inside a dungeon, it's just a giant kind of void space. That's the environment that the player is walking inside of is built in. So all of this outside here, if you were to walk somehow through the wall when you're playing the game and out on this side, you just kind of plummet down. Okay, yes, so moving in the render window. There's two ways basically. If you hold spacebar and you drag the mouse, you'll slide across just like this. And if you hold shift and drag the mouse, you will rotate. And then using the mouse wheel, you can scroll in and out. So those are, I guess those are your three controls. Alrighty, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started on making the quest. So the first thing we need is a character. We need an actor. All of the characters in the game are found under actors, actor, so it should be the first topic here, or a list, whatever you want to call it. So we click actors, actor, and you see it loads up all the characters in the game. Now we don't want to reuse a character. We don't want to edit any of the characters. We want to create a new one. So in the list, we right click and we select new, which will make us a new character. Okay. So this is the character panel or screen. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add a name for our character. Great, so we have a name. It can be whatever you want. This is the name that the player will see in the game. And the other thing we have to do is add an ID. Now, the ID the player will never see in the game. It's something that the creation kit uses so that it can actually identify the actor. So it has two different names, one for the player and one for the creation kit. So for the creation kit name, we're just going to call this something simple like ModTutorialCharacter, just so that it's easy to find in our list. Alright, so once you've got those two things filled out, just click OK. And in general, I would suggest naming things in your mod with some kind of prefix or something very simple so that you can always find it very easily. Just sort of makes your life a little easier. Okay, so now that our character is created, you've noticed they've disappeared in the list because we named them ModTutorialCharacter. So it's going to be under M. So you could scroll all the way down to M, which is quite a long way actually. And I might have missed it. Oh, here we go. M. We're looking for MO. That is MQ. Okay, well, we missed it somewhere. You notice how hard it is to find the character. Oh, they're right here. So you can either scroll down and find them, or you can just type in the filter box, ModTutorialCharacter, and they'll pop up. So this filter allows you to search for anything in any of these categories. You just have to make sure that you have that category selected. So if I'm under actor and I'm searching for, let's say, a book, obviously I'm not going to find it. Okay, so now we have our character. We're going to click and basically drag and drop our character into the render window. Oh, okay. So we're going to delete him real quick. He actually doesn't have a model yet. So what we need to do is assign basically a race to our character. Now, as you can probably tell by the name, we're going to make this an Argonian character. So we're going to click Argonian race. And if you click this button here, it says preview, you can see what the character looks like. Okie dokie. So he's looking a little cold. So we're going to have to make sure that he's got something to wear. And the tabs that we're going to be looking at here in the character panel are traits and inventory. Okay, so start with traits. That's where you'll find the Argonian race. Well, all the races in the game. You can see here if we wanted the character to be a wood elf. There you go. Now they're a wood elf. Or if we wanted them to be a Breton race, there's a Breton. Okay? Alright, but we're going to go back to Argonian, and then we're going to move along to inventory. Pretty self-explanatory, just controls the objects in their inventory. And it also is the tab where you can assign them an outfit. So there are many default outfits in the game that have already been created. So we're going to go ahead and select one. Let's give this Argonian something simple. Call it Farmer Clothes Outfit 1. And I'm just going to refresh this, and you can see there, now he's got some clothes on. Okay, so the two tabs, traits and inventory. And the last thing we have to do is check a couple of these flags here, which are underneath the character name. And the ones that are important to us are unique and essential. Okay, unique just means that he's a unique character. Essential means that the character cannot be killed. And that makes things a lot simpler for designing quests, because if a character were to die in the middle of a quest, there needs to be some kind of logic there that is going to allow the player to keep the quest going, even though that character is now missing. So if the player needs to get some kind of information from the character, but obviously the character is no longer there, or they can't be spoken to, then the quest could come to a halt unless you set up some basically scripting that tells the game what to do in the event that this character should die. But we don't want to deal with that because that's more complicated, so we're just going to make him essential. So he's impossible. He's basically immortal. Okay, now we click OK. So traits, inventory, and grab a couple of those flags, essential and unique, and then click OK. And you can give him whatever outfit you want. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now that we've done that, then we drag and drop our character into the screen. So you can see here, this is our character. He's just standing very nicely in our inn. And he's more or less ready to go. So the next thing we have to do is we have to design or create the item that the character has to go and collect. So remember, the quest is you walk into the inn, you meet the character asks you to find something, and once you find it, you return it to him for a reward. So what is that thing that we're going to find? Well, let's make it something that's easy to spot, easy to work with. I'm thinking maybe like a book or something, just because books are simple enough. So what we want to do is navigate to Items, Books, and in this case we're going to go into our list. You can pick any book, it doesn't matter. But instead of right-clicking and clicking New, we're going to go right-click and duplicate. Just make sure that you have one of these books highlighted. So right-click and duplicate. You'll see it will come up. You'll know yours is the duplicate because it very simply just says duplicate right after the name of the book. Okay, so click on the duplicate, or double-click on the duplicate, and it's going to open up the book page, which is sort of like the character or the actor page, but for books. So we have the name of the book, which is what the player will see in the game. Let's call this In Water's Book, or let's call it a tome, because that's more Elder Scrolls. And then we're going to also edit the book ID. So again, the name is what the player sees in the game, and the ID is how the creation kit identifies it. So we're going to stick with our naming system, and we're going to call this ModTutorial Book, just to keep it nice and simple. Now, you can see there's a bunch of different things here. Under book text, this is where you can actually edit the text of the book. So if you want it to say something, if you want to write your own book, you can go ahead and do that. And it would all be basically written under this book text area. We won't get into too much of this other stuff, just to try to keep this video to a reasonable length. But obviously it says teaches, skill, spell. That should sound familiar because in Skyrim there are lots of skill books. So you pick up a book and you read it and you gain, progress to a skill. But for the time being, none of this is important. You can just click OK once you've added the ID and the name of the book. It's important to change the name of the book just so that you can identify it in the game, obviously, because it's going to look the same as the original copy because we haven't changed what it looks like. Okay, so just change those two things, click OK. When you do that, you're going to be faced with this small menu that pops up. It's going to ask you if you want to create a new form. And basically what that's saying is, do you want to create a new asset? In this case, the answer is going to be no, because we already created a new one when we made the duplicate. Okay? If you are editing a form that is already, if you're editing an asset that you haven't duplicated, then you would want to click yes, but for the time being, we're just going to click no. So we're going to click no, and then it's going to ask you, this object is currently in use by 0 objects and 0 references. That's fine. That's basically what we want to see because it's a new item, so it's not being used by anything in the game. So just click yes, and there we go. So then we're going to search up our book again. It's nice and convenient when you name everything mod tutorial. So I'm going to go mod tutorial. You can see all of your forms here, our book and our character, nice and neatly named, very easy to find. So now we're going to find some place to leave the book. Why don't we put it over here somewhere? And we'll do the same thing we did with the character, just drag and drop the book into the environment here. You can leave it here. When you're manipulating objects with the creation kit, you have to use, there are like axis keys. So the Z axis is Z, or Z, and then the X axis is X, and then I suppose the other axis would be, well, however you want to call, identify the axis. It's X, C, and Z. Move things like this. You can also just move them freely with the mouse, and then if you right-click on the mouse, you can rotate the object. Okay, so we're going to leave the book here. It doesn't have to be perfectly on the table. You can see there's a gap. If you really want, you can click this havoc button here with the object highlighted, and it will just fall to the table. It really doesn't matter. You can have it hovering, above the table. It's not going to affect anything in the game. So here's our book. So we know where to find it. And what we're going to do is now get to work on creating our quest. So we have the character, we have the item that we have to go get, and now we have to create the quest itself. So all of Skyrim's quests are found under character. So we go character, expand it, and we just look down and we find quest. Click on it. You'll see all of the quests in the game. So there's a lot of quests in Skyrim. There's a lot. Some of them are big quests. Some of them are really small quests that just kind of hum along in the background. As an example, you would have the quest that controls all of the caravan fast travel people in the game. So you go to the caravans outside some of the major cities, and you talk to the caravan driver, and you say, take me to whatever, take me to Solitude or something like that, right? So there's a quest that's running, and it just runs forever. It doesn't end, and that's why you can, at any time in the game, you can just go up and talk to those characters and use the fast travel services. But just like what we did with our actor, we don't want to reuse any of these quests or change them. So we're going to go into our quest list and click right click and select new. Okay, so by now this should be pretty familiar. We're going to add a quest name. We're going to call it Missing Amulet, and we're going to add an ID name. We're just going to call it ModTutorialQuest. Well, there we go. For priority, you can just put 60. That's fine. Okay. Once you've filled out those pieces of information, just click OK. You'll notice here, before you close the window, that there are, I guess, 5 tabs. Okay. Once we click OK, and once we reopen our quest tab, you'll notice that, or once we reopen the quest window, you'll notice that there are a whole bunch of more tabs that expand further to the right. So we want to make sure we add our name, our ID, and the priority, and then just click OK first so that we can access the rest of those tabs. So go back into your filter, find your mod quest, reopen it, and now you can see all of our tabs have expanded. I don't know why that is. The game, I guess, just it needs to create a name and an ID first, and then you click OK, and then you can access the rest of it. Okay? So, this quest page essentially acts as your organizing device to help you put together the quest in a logical manner. And I guess one of the easiest ways to do that is to just go from your quest data page all the way over to your quest stages page. This is going to allow you to set up the different stages in the quest, and you can even write your log entries here. I would suggest doing this first, just because it helps keep everything organized. So on the left here we have index. We're going to click right click new. We're going to right click new. And you'll see that when you click new, it just shows up in blue, and you can edit the numbers. So we're going to do 10, 20, 30, and 40. All right, now we're going to start with index number 10. This is quest stage 10. We're going to right click in the log entry box and click new. That's going to open up this box here, and we can write in our log entries. So this is what the player would see in their journal. So let's see here. What's our character's name? Oh, let's say promised me a reward if I can find amulet. Let's say they're missing amulet. There we go. So that's quest stage 10. We're going to go to our next stage. I have found amulet and can return, collect my reward. Maybe that's not as specific enough. Let's say I have the missing amulet. Found this amulet. Should return to for my reward. There we go. Okay, and then our next stage, new. We're going to do I completed task and got my reward. Okay, so in this case we actually don't need stage 40 for our quest, and you'll see why. So I'm actually going to right click and go delete. So now what you can do is you can read through your indexes in order from 10 all the way down to 30, and you can just double check to make sure that your logic makes sense. So imagine you're playing the quest, and imagine how it would actually work. So you, on stage 0, you walk into the inn and you find this character. At stage 10, the character, presumably the player has spoken to the character, and the journal entry says, Sinks and Waters promised me a reward for their missing amulet. So they've given them a task. This is where the player would go off to find the amulet. Stage 20 is where the player has found the amulet and needs to return to the character. And stage 30 is sort of like a little completion stage. Now, if this is the end of our quest, we want to make sure that we tick the box here that says complete quest. Okay, this is going to give that big sort of UI HUD thing that's going to say the quest has been completed. Okay, so just make sure that your last stage is set to complete quest. Okay, the next thing we can do is look at our quest objectives. So we have to create these manually, and these are the little banners that display, or they come up when you move through the stages of your quest. So they're not automatically generated. Just because I came up with these log entries already, I still have to create my quest objectives separately. So we're going to do the same thing as what we did with our stages. We're going to do 0, 10, 20, and 30. Okay? So the reason why we started with the stages and we added our log entries is because now we have a reference, something we can look at. So what's happening at stage 10? We need to find the amulet. Okay, so the objective once the player reaches stage 10 is find the missing amulet. The objective at stage 20 is return the amulet to in water. And in this case, there actually is no objective for stage 30 because the quest would be complete. But you know, it's not going to create an error if you include stage 30 anyway, but it's just nice to have it because it's all organized. And once you get more comfortable with the kit, you can either include it or you can delete it. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so those are our objectives. Now, the next thing we need to do is add our aliases. If you want to think of actors as people or actors, then the alias would be the character that that actor is portraying. Okay, and that's necessary for the creation kit because it uses aliases in quests so that it knows which characters to reference. All you have to do is right-click in the aliases box and click New, and just like you see before, under alias name, type the name of the character, and we have to tell the creation kit which character is going to fill which character or which actor is going to fill this alias. So we type the name and then we click specific reference. Oh, sorry, not specific reference. We click unique actor. This is the advantage of clicking the unique flag when we created the actor from the actor panel. And we're going to type in mod tutorial character. And that's all we have to do. Okay, click OK, and it will show up here. You just don't see all of it because it's not expanded, but there we go. Now we have to do the same thing for the book. So we're going to right click, new reference, alias name, call this in water book. Doesn't really matter what it's called. And then we go specific reference. This is different, and you'll see why in a second. Specific reference, select forced reference right next to it. It's going to bring up a tiny window here. The button we're interested in is select reference in render window. It's going to bring up this little cursor. It's going to automatically skip you to the render window, and then it'll bring up a cursor with this little target on it. You just have to click on your book, double click. And you can see here in the reference it says Mod Tutorial Book, so we've got the right one. Click OK. Click OK. So now we can see we have our two aliases, Sinks in Water, which is the actor, and Sinks in Water Book, which is the book. Alrighty. Now, moving along, we need dialogue. So the dialogue window basically has four different layers to it. Okay, the first layer we're looking at is the view, and that's what's on the left side. It's called dialogue views. This is basically just an organization system, and as I go through it, I think you'll understand more what I mean. So just like we always do, we're going to go under the dialogue views. We're going to click right click and select new. It's automatically going to bring up a box. We just have to name it. So we're going to call this ModTutorialQuest Sinks Water View. We're going to make sure we label it view, just so that everything's nice and clear. ModTutorialQuest Sinks in Water View. And the reason we're calling it Sinks in Water View is because this is where the dialogue for our character that we created is going to be stored. Okay, so click OK. Now we can see this comes up, so we can click it, and then once we've got it highlighted, we can go over to the big box on the right, and we can select Create Branch. So again, right click in the box, Create Branch. So this is the second layer. We have View, which is the first layer, and then Branch, which is the second layer. So we're going to create Branch, ModTutorialQuest. We're going to call this Meeting Sinks Branch. OK. And then you can just click OK a second time. That's fine. And now, before we do anything, we're going to create a second branch. We're going to call this Returning Sinks Branch. Oops, branch. Spelled properly. And we're going to put it here. So those are our first two layers. Now our next layer is going to be what's called, what is it called? A topic text, or a topic. Once you have your branches set up, you'll see that there's, within these yellow boxes, you have a yellow banner and a gray box. Okay, and a yellow banner and a gray box. You can just double click on the gray box. So we're going to start off with the meeting branch. This is when the character meets the actor, and obviously the returning branch is when the character returns to the actor. So double click on the gray box in the meeting branch, and it's going to bring up this topic window. You can see the ID is already filled out because we just created the branch, so we don't have to change anything here. And then we have two sections that we're interested in. We have the topic text and we have the info text, if you will. Okay, the topic text is what the player can potentially say, and the info text is what the character, the actor in the game, is going to say. So we have to imagine that our character, or our player, is meeting the character for the first time. So what would they say? Something like, "You look like you could use some help." Something like that. Okay, and then we're going to right click on the info box, click new, and now this is what the actor is going to say. Yes, please, whatever they want. You must help me find my book, or my missing book. Why not? And you're going to click OK. Now, you get the topic info or the topic box again, but this time it's just filled out with the information that you've already entered. So that's fine. You can click OK. OK. What you'll notice is that in this branch box, the way it's set up, or the default way it's set up, it doesn't show all of the text. So you notice you can't see the whole thing. You have to click the button down here that says Show All Text. If it still doesn't show up, just expand it a little bit. You can just click and drag it. You can expand it so that you can see all of the text. I like to show all the text just because it makes it easy to see. So we have our first dialogue. This is what the player can say as soon as they meet the character. And the character is going to respond with, "Yes, please, you must help me find my missing book." So if you've been paying attention, we've now done 3 layers. We've done views, branches, and topics. Okay? Now we need to add, well, I suppose there are only 3 layers. So now we need to add another topic. And what we do is we just click in this yellow box here, right click, add topic. I'm going to have to give it a name, ModTutorialQuest. Call this Meeting Syncs Yes. Sure, I can do that. And we're going to add a response. So, I don't know, what does he want to say? Thank you, adventurer. And that should be thank you. Maybe with an exclamation. Okay. 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 Just expand this a little so that we can see all of it. Now, these 2 topics are within the same branch, but they have yet to be connected. So you have to make sure that the first one is selected, and then go down to the box, the white part of the box there, and you can see the little hand icon appears. You're going to click and you're going to drag and connect it to your other topic. So now this quest meeting syncs yes will follow the first one. Pretty straightforward. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for our returning branch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Topic text. I have found your book. And then we're going to add an info. Oh, thank you. And that should be good enough. Okay. Now, let's see, scan ahead here. Are there any others we need to look at? No, probably nothing for now. Okay, so we started with our quest data. We went to quest stages, where we highlighted our stages and made our journal entries. We did the quest objectives. We added our aliases, which are like characters. And basically, when the quest is running, the actor that we've assigned to this alias is going to step into the character just the same way like an actor steps into a role. So if the quest was to stop running, the character that we've assigned to this alias, so our sinks and water character, would no longer act like we've set them up to act. So none of these dialogue options would be available unless the quest is running. Okay? Because when the quest stops running, the actor steps out of the alias role, and it's like, it's like the actor doesn't have a script, or they don't have any dialogue, so they won't say anything. So the quest has to be running so that the aliases can be filled. Now, there's one last thing we have to do before we close our quest window. We have to set up what are called condition functions so that the game knows when to show the player the meeting branch topic and when to show the player the returning branch topic. Because the way that it's set up right now, these dialog options can be said by any character in the game at any time. And that's not what we want. So we want them to only be said by the character that we created, and we want them to be said at specific times. And the way that we identify those times is by referring to our quest stages. So let's take a look here. So we'll click on the meeting branch topic, double click, brings up the window that we saw before, and here we have this conditions box. So remember, there's two things we need. We need to make sure the right actor is saying the right line, and we need to make sure they're saying it at the right time. So that means we need two condition functions. So we're going to start with the first one. There's a list here on the left, just like you always do, right click, select new. You'll see there's a list here of all of your condition functions. There's a lot of them. The one we're interested in is getIsID, and then we're going to click on the box. And then we're going to find our character, ModTutorial character. So getIsID is basically like saying get the ID of the actor, right? And this is why we had to select an ID that the creation kit could reference. Remember, we named it ModTutorial character. That's where this is coming into play. So now we can identify our actor nice and easily. Comparison, you can see you have all these different signs here, right? Greater than, less than, equal to, right? Greater than or equal to, greater than, all these things. So we're going to set the double equal sign and make sure the value is set to 1. If it were set to 0, this would mean every character in the game except for this character. But we don't want that. We want only this character, so we're going to leave it at 1. And then we need a second condition function, which is going to tell the game when to show this dialog option. And that's a very simple one. It's called getStage. Okay, so it's going to get the stage of the quest that's currently, or the quest that you've basically identified. So start with getStage, and then we click on the next box here. Then we go ModTutorialQuest to refer to our quest. And then we need to tell the game which stage we want it to appear. So if you remember the stages we created, we have 10, 20, and 30. This one is going to appear on stages less than 10. Okay, so essentially this just means before the player has met the character, they're going to say this line. Which makes sense, right? Because after they've met them, after they've given them the task, once we've proceeded onwards from stage or anything above stage 10, we don't want them to say this anymore. So we're going to leave it like this. And for our next topic, because it's linked with an arrow, we don't actually have to tell the game which stage that this topic should show up at, because it's always going to precede this one. So we don't actually have to tell it. So that's nice and handy. Although I do like to add the character ID anyway, just because it makes it nice and organized. So you don't have to, I think it's fine if you don't, but let's just do it anyway. So we're going to add getID ModTutorial character. Now we're going to do the same thing for our returning branch. So right click, get IDs, or getIsID. ModTutorial, find your character, okay. And then we're going to add a getStage, we're going to find our quest. Go. And we have to see what stage this is going to be at. So, if you don't remember, the stage where the character is returning to, or the player is returning to our character is going to be stage 20. So we just set up our quests, we use the double equals, and we set it equal to 20. Click OK. Okay. So now, once you've done all of that, which was a lot, now we're going to click OK, and we're actually going to save the mod so that we don't lose the work. So go up to your Save button, just give it a name, call this ModTutorialQuest, save, and now it's saved. So now you don't have to worry about losing it. So now our quest is almost completely set up. There's just one last step that we have to do to make sure that everything works, and that is a little bit of scripting. So the scripting acts to basically trigger events, which can tell the game when to process between stage 10 to stage 20 to stage 30. Okay, so we have to start with our character, or our dialogue, if you will. And if you're reading through your dialogue, you can just kind of imagine where your quest stages need to be. So you meet the character, player says this, character says, yes please, you must help me. The player says, sure, I can do that. So this seems like a good place for our stage to advance. Okay. Again, if you don't remember what stages are set to what, just go back to your Stages tab and read through your journal entries that you've already set up, and that way you'll make sure that you're linking everything up to the right stage. So in this case, stage 10 is after we've just taken on the little quest. So we're going to go to our dialogue view. We're going to find the dialogue entry that corresponds to this part of the quest. Click OK, or double click on it. And we're going to use this papyrus end fragment box. This is the beginning box. This is the end box. Okay. Now this is some creation kit jargon, but you just kind of learn to figure out what it is over time. But for now, you can just copy this. You're going to start with get owning quest with a double brackets, .SetStage, and then in brackets equals 10. Not equals 10, just in brackets 10. Now, we need to do the same thing for our objectives. Is it objective displayed? 10, yeah. And we need to do the same thing for well, those two should do it. So it always starts with get owning quests, and then we have set stage and set objective displayed, and you're going to set both of those to 10, and then click OK. Not enough memory to run application. Okay. I'm not sure what that was. That could have just been a wonky error. Not enough memory to run application. Okay, let's hope that's just a wonky error. Okay, so there's our... Oh, I gotta get my quest window back. So there's our script for our first stage. So now we're on stage 10. We've spoken to the character. Now we need to find the book. So presumably, once we found the book, that should trigger our next stage. So we're going to go over to our book, and we're going to have to create a script on the book. Oh my goodness, there we go. So we go scripts, you basically double click on the book, which will open this little editor window. You have all these tabs along the top. Just scroll all the way to the end and find the scripts tab. Then we're going to click the button Add. It's going to take a second. We want to create a new script because this is a new quest. We're going to put a name in. We're going to call this Mod Tutorial Book Script. Extends object reference. You don't have to change that. That is fine. This documentation string box is just, it's simply a description. So this script lives on the mod tutorial book and triggers, probably with a lowercase, stage 20 when the player picks up the book, or something like that. And just click OK. It's just a description. It's not actually going to affect anything. Not enough memory. I hope that's not an issue. What is going on here? Okay, so at this point in the video, the creation kit was being a little strange, and as you probably saw, that error message was coming up, something about memory. I'm not quite sure what that was, but all I had to do was close the creation kit and restart it again. And then I played with it a little bit, and the scripting seems to be working. So yeah, we can continue. But what I did notice as I was going back through this was that I named the quest Missing Amulet, but the object that we're going after is actually a book. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this to Missing Book. It's just the quest name. It's not a big deal, but I just realized that was different. I should also explain that when you are reopening your mod file, you have to double click, and then with it highlighted, you have to click this button here, Set as Active File. So if you're having the same error that I was having, just save the work, close the kit, and then reopen it again. All you got to do is double click your ModTutorialQuest.SetStage, and then set as active file. It'll show here saying active file, and then press OK. And it will load up everything just like normal. Okay, so with that out of the way, we can continue with what we were doing before this fell apart, or before the creation kit was being a little strange. Okay, now we start off with our script here that goes on the end of our text, which we did get through, and it's going to look like this. It always starts with get owning quest, and then you just write SetStage in brackets 10, get owning quest, SetObjectiveDisplayed in brackets 10. So the objective displayed, what you're seeing here, is going to show, as you might imagine, this objective. So this is why we create the objectives separately from quest stages, so that we can call them when we want to. And that's just how the kit works. So we meet the character, we say, look like you could use some help. Yes, please, you must help me find my missing book. And then player says, sure, I can do that. Character says, thank you. And then we're off on our mission. So we've now set the quest to stage 10. So we're going to get this journal entry, and we're going to get this objective come up on our screen. Now we're going to continue on with the book. So we're going to go to our cell view, go all the way down to Riverwood. Click yes to all warnings. We're going to find our book, which we placed on the table just in the room over. You can put it anywhere, but just for the sake of convenience, we're going to put it here. And we're going to go ahead and continue creating our script on this book. So you just double click the book, you'll get all these tabs along the top, scroll all the way to the right and you'll find scripts. We're going to add a script. It's going to take a second. We're going to call this new script. Let's name it something like Mod Tutorial Book Script. Okay, so the name already exists. That's fine. We'll call this book script. 02 is fine. You can name it whatever you want, but try to name it something that is going to be easy to remember when you just by looking at it. So now that we have our script, we are going to right click and edit source, and we're going to start writing our script. So the idea is that this book is going to act as, in a way, like the event that's going to trigger our quest from stage 10 to stage 20. And we're going to write a script that looks like this. It starts with event on container changed reference, aka new container. Oh, actually, I don't think there's a comma here. Object reference, aka OldContainer. If, aka new container, equal to Game.GetPlayer. Then ModTutorialQuest.SetStage 20 objective displayed 20. You can, by the way, you can also just copy and paste. So we'll go ahead and do that. Completed 10 endif endEvent. Okay. So what the script is saying is it's an event on container changed. So it's basically what it sounds like. The script is attached to the book, so we don't have to worry about which object is changing containers because the script naturally is on the book, so we're talking about the book here. So when the book changes containers, right, we have two references. We have a new container, and let's make this a capital, and an old container. And we are writing a statement that says if the new container is equal to Game.GetPlayer, which is essentially works as a substitute to say this is the player's inventory, is basically what this is saying. Then we want our quest to be set to stage 20. We want our quest to show our objective displayed as objective 20, and we want our quest to show the objective complete as objective 10. So we're swapping in the new objectives and we're getting rid of the old ones. Now, every time you create a script, you have to save it before you close it, or else it won't, it's not going to stick around. So you can either hit Control S or you can just go File, Save. So you go ahead and do that. And what you'll probably have noticed is that there's an error here. So if you write the script the way that it is, this is not going to work. The reason for this is because we have written here ModTutorialQuest 3 times, ModTutorialQuest. The problem is that the creation kit doesn't know what quest we're referring to. So we've named it, we've named something, but the creation kit doesn't really know what it is. So we have to use what's called a property. And in this case, the quest is a property of the script. Okay, so we first start by declaring the type of property, and then we declare that it is a property, and then we declare the name of the property, ModTutorialQuest. And the name, of course, can be anything. You could name it, you know, Quest A, you know, Quest A or Quest B, whatever. But we're going to call it ModTutorialQuest just to keep it nice and simple. And anytime you're done declaring a property, you have to conclude it with this word auto. I don't know what it means, but that's just the way the creation kit works. So you always have to include the word auto at the end. Okay, now this is a line, that's all you have to write, and it can really go anywhere. So if you wanted, you could stick it up here and kind of get rid of this, right? Or you could leave them, you could leave it down here at the bottom. It doesn't matter where it is. Okay. So now that we have our property declared, now the creation kit has some sense of what we're actually talking about when we say ModTutorialQuest.SetStage. So we're going to hit Control S or save here, whichever one. And you'll see at the bottom, if it's successful, you'll get no warnings. And it'll just say compilation succeeded, save succeeded. Great. Okay, so now that it's saved, you can close that. However, we're not quite done yet. So before we close this menu, if you do close it, just reopen it, it's fine. We're going to go into Properties, and we have to actually set the property. We're going to go ModTutorialQuest. Okay, so the reason we have to set the property separately is because although we've told the game that this thing that we're calling ModTutorialQuest is a property, and it's a property type of quest, it still doesn't know which quest we're talking about. So we have to set that information to make sure it knows. And you do that by setting it through your little properties button here. So you'll notice because it says here type is quest and the value, you can actually substitute any quest in the game. Not that you would want to, but you could. As an example, you could pick one of the companions quests and have it change stages when you pick up this book. Obviously that wouldn't make any sense, so we're not going to do that. We're going to stick with our mod tutorial quest and then click OK. Alrighty, so we have our scripting set up. Oh, actually there is one more step we have to do. So we have our scripting set up for stage 10. This is after we've talked to our character and he gives us a task. Then we have stage 20, which is when we find the book. And then our task is now to return to the character for the reward. And then we have to add one more little script that changes the stage from 20 to 30 so that we can complete our task. And as you can imagine, that is in our returning branch of our dialog view here. And we go over to our end papyrus fragment and we write get owning quests. Set stage 30. Set objective displayed. Oh, sorry, not displayed. We don't have any more objectives. Set objective completed. Objective 20. Hit compile. click OK. And you will see as well that anytime you have included a script on a dialog option here, you'll see a little S comes up right next to it, just so you can see there's a script there. Okay. Now, there's one more step. We have to set, now that we've set our objectives to show up when they do, we also have to set up the little arrows that appear, or the quest markers, if you will. The way that you do this is by clicking on your quest objectives. So I can go to quest objective 10, and it says find the missing, oh, this should be different. Find the missing book. And we go target ref, right click new, and you'll see here of the box becomes available for target alias, and we're going to select sinks in water book. And then we're going to do the same thing for stage 20, select new, target, and this time we're going to be returning to our character, so we're going to select the character. I don't know why I changed this from amulet to book, because it's very confusing now. There we go. Okay, we can close this, and we can save. Alright, so we're getting to the end here, and you're probably saying to yourself, even for such a simple quest, there's a lot of small little steps that we have to remember to do. Now, because of that, sometimes you miss things, and I did forget one step. And that is to give the player a reward for completing the quest. And that's pretty simple. So what we're going to do is head to our returning branch under the dialog views tab, where it says I have found your book, and we're going to add to our script here. So I actually already added it, but I'll go ahead and delete it and do it over again. Compile, and I'm going to go into here. We're going to get rid of this. Oh, it's being fussy. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to start by saying Game.GetPlayer, add item, gold, 500, or gold, comma 500. So just like our book script, we're going to talk about the player's inventory. So Game.GetPlayer. We want to add an item, and we're saying we want to add an item called gold. And then of course the number just means how many of those items are we going to add. So we're going to add 500 pieces of gold. All right. Now, like our book script, the game doesn't already know what you're talking about when you say gold, so you have to add, or you have to write your properties down. Now, I've already done this actually, but I will show you how to do it anyway. So we're going to click our properties. First, we have to highlight the script, click properties, and then add property. Just like what we did before with our other property, which was a quest, you can see these are all of the different types of properties. So the one we added before was a quest property, but here we are looking for gold, which is in fact a miscellaneous object. So miscellaneous object, name property, and call it gold, and then click OK. So once you've done that, you'll get this menu, or you'll see this property listed here, and then we have to assign it as gold. So the creation kit lists gold as gold 001. So that's what you'll see when you're looking for it. So just select gold 001, click OK, and compile. Give that a second. It's fine. Close, close, OK. Okay, so the quest is now set up. All of the stages will be moved through as we talk to the character, as we pick up the book. All of our journal entries are set up under our Quest Stages tab, and all of our objectives are lined up as well. And because we've added our set objectives at our various events here, we will see that these objectives will come up on screen, and when we move on to our next stage, the old objectives will be cleared. And of course we have our reward at the end, so it's pretty straightforward. Go ahead and save. And now I'm going to close the creation kit because there's one last thing we have to do. I'm going to take a second here. Whenever we have created a quest that is set to start game enabled, we have to create what's called an SEQ file so that the characters will speak their lines of dialogue. Okay? Now, the start game enabled flag is checked by default, so yours should be checked as well. And the way we create our SEQ file is by using a program called SSEdit. You can get it from the Skyrim Nexus, or TestEdit if you're using a different version of the game. But you download your edit, and when you open it up, you'll be presented with this list. You can right-click, select none, and then all you have to do is click on your mod, and it's automatically going to select the files that are required to load it up, and you're going to click OK. Now it's a pretty small mod we just created, so it's going to it's going to load it up pretty quickly. So it'll say here, there's lots of information, but it says here background loader finished right at the bottom, so it's done. All you have to do is find your mod on the left side, right click, other, create SEQ. And you'll see here it says process plugins 1, sequence files created 1. And you're done. You don't have to do anything other than that, you just have to close it. Nice and straightforward. Now we're going to go into our data folder. We're going to find our mod, the Skyrim data folder. We're going to find our mod. We're going to create a file here using our WinRAR. Then we're going to open, is Mod Organizer already running? An instance of Mod Organizer is already running. What does that mean? I don't think it's running, is it? Not sure why that would be. And add our mod quest, replace, that's fine. And make sure that on the right side as well, the ESP is checked just so that it's active. Then we can run the game. Alrighty, so I'm just going to zoom over to Riverwood and we'll check out our quest.
I saw a dragon.
What? What is it now, Mother?
It was as big as the mountain.
Okay, here is our nice fireside inn. Let's talk to our character.
Not to.
The ale is going
tidings.
Yes, please, you must help me find my missing book. Now, of course, we didn't record any dialogue lines and put them in the game, so the character is not actually going to say anything, but the lines are showing up. The dialogue is, we're moving through it nonetheless. So he's going to say his line, and I'm going to say, sure, I can do that. And there we see our objective come up. We can also take a look at our journal entry here. Just read through it. Promised me a reward if I can find the missing book. And then it says find the missing book. Now, there is a little console command you can use. It's just called sqv ModTutorialQuest. And you hit enter. And it should show us the stage that we're currently at. So if you're following along, we just talked to our character and they gave us a quest, so that should mean we're at stage 10 of our quest, because we just took the first stage there, so we went from 0 to 10. So we'll look, it says enabled, yes, running, current stage 10, priority 60. Okay, great. So then we are going to head over and find our book. Pick up the book. Here we go. It says return the book to our character. Let's go over. We'll check our stage one more time. So now you see we've picked up the book. Now we're at stage 20. We can talk to the character once again. Tell him that we found the book. And the quest ends. There we go. So it moved from, well, we don't have any other quests, so this is just a completed quest now in our quest log. Now we check our stage again. It says we are currently at stage 30. So those are our 3 stages. And we successfully helped out our Argonian friend who's not very good at swimming, and we got a nice reward for such a simple task. Now, you've probably noticed, or you may have noticed, that this quest is not perfect. There are some loose ends that were never really tied off, and as a result the quest doesn't exactly make any sense. Or not totally, it doesn't make any sense. As an example, we can look at our inventory and we notice that we still have the book. Normally the character would take the book from you, and that can be done using scripts the same way that we added gold to the player's inventory. So instead of add item, we would use remove item. And because the book is an alias, we would need to refer to its alias and not the book itself. Another issue that we might have is that while the quest is running, or after the quest, whenever, we can actually drop the book. So this is sometimes an issue, and actually this character, what is he doing? Huh. So he picked it up.
You left this over there. You want it back, right? Here. You left this over there. You want it back, right? Here.
Okay. That's interesting. So that's just the way Skyrim is designed. Characters will notice when you drop things, they can pick them up and return them to you. But let's say that nobody was here and I had yet to make my way back to our Sinks and Water character, and I accidentally dropped the book and lost it, and I couldn't complete the quest. So obviously that can also be an issue. Something else you might notice is that the character does have some dialogue lines that are sort of native to Skyrim, but we would, when we would make this mod, if we were to make it again and try to fix all of these small little gaps and things, we would give him a custom voice so that he wouldn't say the regular Skyrim lines. These are all just small little things that as you get familiar with the basics of the creation kit, you learn to kind of add in these small little details that will help make the quests a little bit more fleshed out, and sort of, you know, all completely tied up in nice little bows. But for the purposes of this video, the intention is just to get people used to the systems in general. And so while there are these few errors, and you'll probably I might even have been thinking about some other ones. The purpose is just to get you used to the system so that you can start working on those complicated things once you've got the basics down. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope that was interesting, and if you liked the video, I hope you really got something out of it. So thanks for watching, and enjoy your modding.